And for the purpose of this lecture, I'm a designer, and designers take calculated risk. So this is what I'm going to do. And please, I want you to share with me what you think about this picture.
This is the future.
Real sharing. What do you feel?
Photoshop.
Photoshop.
Desire.
Male fantasies.
Yes. Virtual reality.
What?
Virtual reality.
You are very nice to the picture.
Android.
What?
Android.
Android. Is anybody angry?
Yes.
It's very
Okay, so why aren't you saying that? Who is angry?
sad.
Why are you angry or sad?
Because such a beautiful girl is watching, is immersing herself in a totally.
What about you?
It's sexist. It's really stereotyped.
Okay, sexist. What? Anybody else?
Because this isn't affordable living.
Okay, so I was actually looking for other things. I was looking for frustration that I'm showing such pictures, but I'm sure there are some in the audience who feel that. And let me tell you what is frustrating me. What is frustrating me is these glasses, because you obviously know when you surf the internet, Google is collecting information about you, and when you use Waze, it's collecting information about you. You post on Facebook, it's collecting information about you. And a few years from now, you'll be wearing these glasses, staring at this picture, and it will collect information about what you stare in the street, and your profile will have everything about you. Okay, and suddenly, without noticing, we arrived 32 years after long waiting, we arrived to Big Brother. And I think that this is extremely a bad situation. And the reason I think that we are coming to this situation is because there is no dialogue between us and nature, and there is no dialogue between us and technology doesn't speak to nature. We sort of are educated in silos, me coming from engineering, there is engineering silos, there are humanist silos, and so forth, and we don't speak with each other. And even this, which is an excellent venue to start sharing things, it's very far from the real world, where stuff is being developed too fast for us even to imagine and to impact our lives. And the situation is let me just show you something very simple. We have different perspective about things. So from your perspective, you can see that, and somebody else might see this, and somebody else that. But really, from another perspective, it's this, and it's just something outside of the Jewish synagogue at Amsterdam. So from different positions, we look at something related to the second talk about our eyes. It's not just the eyes, but where you are placed, you see completely different things. So the situation is pretty bad. And it turns out that even if we start talking to each other, we want to talk to each other, we find ourselves in our silos and can't even connect with one, because we don't have really the language, the concepts to converse with each other. So we are in a very deep problem from my perspective, and in my discipline, what I'm doing is trying to tackle any difficult problem with design. So I'm going to talk about designing a dialogue between biology and technology, and what is the purpose. I hope that I've convinced you that we are in troubles, but I'll give you some more examples later on. And finally, I'll give you what I think is a good purpose. And I'll use the topic of this workshop, a dialogue between technology and biology, just as an example, because I think that the problem is not just in these two disciplines, but much broader. So let's start with technology and nature. And this can be actually a very happy relationship or marriage, as I call it. So here I am at the pool of Bereshit Hotel near the Ramon crater. This is the pool and this is the Ramon crater. Magnificent relationship between technology or the artificial world and nature, at least as it looked from that point of view. Okay, maybe from other point of view it will be different. So out of this beautiful relationship comes biomimicry. The previous presenter mentioned that. And so biomimicry is a new discipline, and this is sort of a classic definition by Janine Benyus, a new science that studies nature's model and then imitates or takes inspiration from these designs and proceed to solve human problem. Even this definition, you'll see in a moment, is slightly problematic, but nevertheless, let's continue with that. And this is a very flourishing discipline or science. You can see here the growth in a particular index that captures the number of articles, the funding, and the patents that come out of that discipline. So it's growing extremely fast. If you want to know more about it, Google find structure or look at this book. Okay, my book with my student. I'll mention it a little bit later. What I'll do now is I'll tell you a little bit more about biomimicry, just to show you that there is a little bit of problem between the dialogue between these disciplines. So let's start with one way in which biomimicry is working. So nature as an idea. What does it mean, nature as an idea? So years ago, a Swiss engineers walk in the forest, and the burdock bear touched the dog's fur, and then nature and technology talks. The engineer look at the dog and looks at the bears, and you see this kind of thing. And then technology find an interesting problem, show you in a minute, and it implements it in an unsustainable manner. So this is the Velcro that was developed out of this natural phenomena, of course implemented or manufactured in a non-sustainable manner. Okay, so technology is happy, obviously lots of money, but nature is frustrated because it just took sort of the benefit but didn't give back something. Okay, so the relationship is not working so well. This path follows the definition of biomimicry, but this is really this captures actually, I would say, 95% of what biomimicry is out there. But to me, it's very, of course, it's very economically viable, but it's not what I would like it to be. What I would like it to be more is that it will start helping us address technology problems. So I'm not looking at nature and then thinking which kind of problem I can solve, but I have a problem. Now, what do you do? The problem is, where do you look for organisms or other things in nature that will give you insight? I mean, there's just tons of them, and you cannot search with your own language because it's completely different than the language that biology used to describe their work. So there's no hope. So let me still give you an example of a project. And this is an American submarine, and it says that it's coated with shark skin to reduce its friction. And the shark has certain riblets like this, and it has different kind of riblets along its body. And these riblets reduces the drag, and it's very complicated phenomena. So we thought with some other people in Israel that it would be a very interesting topic to do research. And we start looking at this phenomena, and we start doing research about it. So there's been many research work done, for example, this kind of model, but it doesn't capture the complexity of the real life phenomena. And it turns out that if you look at the literature, it's inconclusive. Some would say it reduces drag, and some not. Some would say 15%, some would say 5%. So it's really unclear. So nature answers sometimes, if you start searching, are inconclusive, and sometimes there are just no solution. So the end result is, from that experience, nature is helpless and technology is angry. Okay, so the dialogue doesn't work so well as we would like to think. And this is because we're talking about different perspectives. People, again, coming from different silos, different perspectives, different languages. The dialogue is broken. So I will now show you a framework that will tell you how do we try to address it. I'm not going to talk about the details of what we did, but just show you the framework. Okay, so here's the framework. So you see here a 3x3 matrix. This is sort of the lower level. This is the real life practice. This is what we do most of the time. This is the time when we do research or when we reflect upon what we do in daily life. And this is the time that we really think high. What are our long-term goals, objective vision, and anything that we can do, I can sort of classify into answering three types of questions. What are we doing, who is doing, and how are we doing it? Okay, so I just described to you this situation. In practice, we have tough technology or other problems, and there are engineers, architects, designers, and other people trying to look at them, and they have diverse new product development practices, trying even to implement biomimicry, but this doesn't work. So I would use the concept of alignment. They are not aligned with each other. Okay, so Yael came to me, and we talked about that difficulty. And our talk were sort of ad hoc. We had some meeting, but no structure, we didn't decide how to decide what to do. And then we came up, okay, we want to fix that problem. Okay, how are we going to do that? So we together are going to do this in the context of her doing PhD studies. And we wanted then to make sure that the new thing that we are going to develop will allow developing innovative and sustainable. Okay, so not just innovative, but also sustainable solution. So we ended up developing a new biomimetic design method, and the core of that design method is actually creating a language that both biologists and engineers can understand. And I can then search with terms that will talk about the structure of biological organism, which are things that I can find in the literature. And for me, this structure would mean functionality that I can get out of this structure. So for example, the riblets of the shark, which is very common in nature, these are repeated protrusions. Hair is another thing. The gecko foot is another example. They are all related to a touch and a touch function. So if I want to attach or detach something, I need to look for repeated protrusion. It's becoming much easier to use these kind of languages. Okay, so I'm not going to go into detail, but the core of the method is trying to come up with a new language that will bridge these two communities. So this might be a little bit general for you, so I'm going to talk more about this framework because this is what is interesting to me. So to make it much simpler, I'm going to relate it to everybody's life. Okay? So we start here. This is nature and technology, but it's you and your spouse. Okay? Couple. You live your life. Most of us do it in an ad hoc manner. I mean, there are sort of rules in the house, but they're sort of created ad hoc. We never sit down and say who is doing what and why and how are we solving different problems. Okay? And conflict emerge. Okay? Conflict emerge, we sort of sit with the family and other friends, we talk about what we want to do. And we decide that we do it in an ad hoc fashion, and we decided to fix the relationship. Okay? Fixing the relationship, we can also decide to divorce, okay? And then I'll tell the story slightly different, but it will have the same structure. So we decided to go to counseling. Now, going to counseling, I have to select the counselor, and then I'm sort of creating an informal contract how counseling is going to happen, who is in charge of what, and what is the role of the couple, and so forth, what is the role of the counselor. Along the way of the counseling process, the counselor asks us, the couple, to think about what would our relationship be. Do we want open, free relationship or something else? Do we want to lie to each other or to be honest with each other? I mean, it's something that we explicitly need to think about. After we do this, somewhere along the line, we sort of write a relationship contract. This is how we're going to live, who is doing what, who is responsible. This is how we're going to talk, resolve issues among each other. Once we do that, we understand that sometimes we ourselves, the couple, are insufficient to deal with problems. We need other people. So we augment the who. It's not only us again, but I don't know, consultant, coaches, whatever. And then we live conscious life. Okay, and we set up a way to monitor so we don't get lost in the way. What I show you now is something that is very general, with which I can explain any design, or for that matter, many human activities. Now, I talked about a couple, but all these couples have problems. Okay, some I took from the conference topics. I mean, somebody's going to talk about virtual and real, able, disabled, there's robots or human fantasy, real, whatever. I mean, there are a lot of, and they don't speak with each other. They have problems. Feel your own, okay? Each of them, if you actually want to do something, you have to follow that framework. There is, I don't think there is any other way. And yes, some are valued, some are forgotten, but so this is really a general framework for doing design. You know, I've been working on that for many years. It has been coming, this framework, in the last few months, but me and colleagues that are listed there and some more, when we look at many instances of successes or failures in industry, or even in society, or economic development projects, or capitalism, we can explain the success or failure using this. Why is it so difficult? It's so difficult because in order to answer these things, or in order to determine these things, you need to have many disciplines involved. So to what? To frame the problem and then to solve it, you need engineers, art, humanities, sciences, you need everybody to do that. It's not just technologists who are framing the problem and then building up solutions for us to use. And who is participating? Everybody. But in order to even think about this, you have to have sociologists and psychologists and more. Yes, but you need to have them. And here, to talk about this or to understand what needs to get there, you need management, economics, sociology, and many more people. So can you tell me a situation where these people meet? So this is why we have problems, because nobody, I don't think nobody sees the big picture, although it's so intuitive. I'm sure when I told you the story of the couple, it was so intuitive that you thought, it's obvious, right? But nobody's showing something like this. That okay, and something else that is very important, it's not just that you need to have all these things, but they need to be aligned, they need to be balanced, okay? So if I push this, other things need to give way, okay? Because if not, this is going to break down, okay? And things that in the world, things change, I mean, technology change, we change, everything around us change, so other things need to balance, and we have to keep track and upon these things, and if we don't do that, then we find ourselves in a situation where things just fall apart. So, I'm not going to summarize with what I told you, but with what we need to do. Okay, it's a call for action. So we need to design ourselves in a certain way. So we need to forget silo statements. Science equals progress or truth. Who says that? I don't know. Atomic bomb is not progress, and there are some other things that might not be progress, but it's truth. I don't think it's truth. So forget about this. Economic growth is not better life. We know that, I think, already. Technology, also not better life. There could be other things. So forget about this thing. I mean, they can work, but we need to be conscious that there is something also going on. They need to talk with each other. Because we're at a university, I have to speak about these things. Okay, so we need to teach certain things. We need to teach skills, not just knowledge. So we need to teach design skills. We don't do that. We stop doing design at the kindergarten at the sandbox. Okay, so we need to teach design. What I mean by design is first understand the whole spectrum of things, how to integrate things. This will teach us how to create new concepts, and specifically I did that because it also captures some of the things that was said before. Just to do that, you need to have knowledge of this. And I specifically said poetry. Can you imagine in engineering teaching poetry class? Because it's very instrumental to create new concepts. So it changes the way that we think. So by crossing silo, we need to change the educational system. So we started doing that this year in Tel Aviv. We have a program, Engineering and Liberal Arts, and I'm running with some other people a project with engineering and physiotherapy students. So we already start to talk to each other and see what does it mean even. And then respect other people's experiences. I don't know, we are sort of at the university, sometimes we tend to think that other people know less, or sometimes we as engineers, we go to developed world and we think that the people there don't have a clue and we impose technology solution on them which fail miserably. But in fact, these people are experts in their life. Okay, so we need to think about that. And finally, coming to, again, the topic of, I would like to propose to you also, what's the purpose? The purpose, I think if we decide that the ethos, or our ethos is I don't know, society or community, is sustainability, I think that it can be a good candidate. I'm not in the talk presenting solutions, I'm just presenting a framework that we can use to move us forward. But in a way, if we choose sustainability, then we would take care of nature and the environment, we would take care of people, because we are talking about also sustainability of people, communities, sustainability of their work, all these will be taken care of. And this is something that many of us do not think about, and it's thanks to my friend George Amar. When we design things, when we sort of create and fix the landscape, we need to make sure that our future generation also have something to play with. Because we just cannot fix everything. So we need to leave them something for... Okay, and I think that together we can design and do it. And that's the end of my talk. Thank you very much.